Nice.
There we go. Time for another episode of the Stability and Opportunity Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Zimmerman, here with another exciting guest, one of my favorite people in the whole entire real estate world. You can see him right there. There he is right there. Yeah. We chat all the time on the side, and we've got an interesting story about how we became friends, how we met. Success story is going to really blow your mind. And before we get into all of that, we bring them on. I just want to do a couple of quick things. Welcome back all our returning friends and fans to the show, Connie and Lilo and some of the other people. I'm expecting Amanda to show up here in a couple bits. So I'm really excited to see that we're building an audience. You guys are showing up, and it's a tribute to us to be able to do things that matter to your life and business. And so the purpose of these episodes, the purpose of these shows are to go into the things that are working now, knowing what to say, knowing what to do during these troubling times, to provide some accountability, some structure to your life. We're on a routine. We're showing up daily, so hopefully that helps you build a little bit of a muscle if you're needing that accountability in your own life. We all know it. We all need it. I started dressing up a little bit more. If you notice, I wore a tie the other day. I actually, for you all, I'll tell you, I went on Amazon the other day, and I bought a whole new bunch of shirts, 5 button-down shirts that are going to be arriving soon. So I'm going to be up here styling, looking good, showing up in a way higher than I normally do because we got to elevate our game. And so if you're not yet on the list, receive the updates when we put these shows out, please go to the redx.com/blog. Wait for the pop-up, put your name and information in there. You're going to get updates every time we have a new episode, as well as, and it's coming soon, I just talked to the team about putting it out there, all the scripts that we've been talking about during the last couple of episodes, we've got that in production, and very soon, check your inbox. Beyond that inbox, be in that email, because we're going to email that out to you guys in the next couple of days, hopefully by Friday. So I'll keep you up on that. Keep checking back with me if you don't get it, but I promise, come to me when you have questions. And so, Racer.
Hey, buddy.
Great to have you back. Good to see you, man, as always. I forgot my cowboy hat. You got it.
Yeah, well, at least you got a new haircut for me, so you're looking good.
This is called balding.
Oh, I got you.
I took my hat off.
You can tell, yeah. So, how are y'all? Everybody good?
Everybody's great. The pressure of everything that's happening right now has really put people into focusing on the essentials, what matters most. Of course, one of the topics we're going to be talking about today is lead generation on a central or shrinking budget. And so I know you have a lot of experience with making a whole lot happen with a whole little.
We started with nothing. So that's what I told the guy the other day. He said, how much business has this deal cost you? And I'm not even fixing to tell y'all, but a bunch, more than I made last year. And he goes, how do you digest that? And I said, brother, I was broke when I started. If I'm broke again, I know exactly where I'm at, and I know how to get out of there. So, but it ain't very comfortable. You know what I mean? If you feel like somebody came in and robbed you.
That's a hard feeling, man. So
will we recover it? Yeah. I mean, some of it, it's just, like I say, it's, there's a lot of ways to look at it. But for us, we just thought, okay, well, this is kind of messy. And so how are we going to make something good out of the mess? And we've used our time to do that. I mean, I still get up, 5:30, and I'm working by 6. And I leave this office usually between 10 at night and, 12:30. And
so this isn't a vacation for you.
No, we've worked harder now. We've done more task fulfillment since this deal's kind of took off than where before we was just trying to carry wood. I'm trying to keep the fires hot. So
now you're chopping down the trees.
Yeah, now we're having to do the stack wood. Yeah, we're trying to stack it.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, so it's you can. I use a statement a lot with people, and it actually came from that birthplace that I say my birthplace of my business came from Bold and coaching program I went to. But one of the things that stuck to me the most, and still to this day, I see that I live by a lot, is what you focus on expands. And if you focus on how bad this deal really is, it'll just get bigger in your mind. But if you focus on the good stuff, that'll get bigger too. And so we've just decided that, I mean, and it's real for us. Listen, we have family members in the medical field that, because of their job, have been diagnosed with this thief we're dealing with. And so, I mean, it's very real to us in our world. By the same token, um, it's temporary. That stuff ain't forever. And what is forever is family and relationships and your legacy and how well you lead under pressure. And everybody leads somebody. You may not know who's following you. It doesn't matter. You're still responsible for where you're taking them. And so you got to lead well. In a deal like this, you got to lead well. And for me, I mean, I know like my kids, my wife, but when we get online, there's a lot of people that you don't have no idea who or where or what they're going through. But they're looking for somebody's path to walk through this forest of stuff to just kind of follow. And truth of the matter is, a lot of them are going a million different directions right now, and nobody has a good path. So where there is no direct order, so where there's no path, where there's no way to go, you get chaos. But when somebody could fall in and because somebody's leading well and then get behind them, then what happens is that guy follows with certainty, and so people follow him that ordinarily wouldn't follow him. And so you get a trail of certainty.
And that's the opportunity side of what we're trying to focus on this podcast is having done maybe 16 or 17 episodes, a recurring theme of leadership keeps coming up. And as I've spent time after the show thinking about what is leadership, it comes back to mindset. And so leadership is a mindset of how you look at things. And what you've just mentioned was when you take a direct action of confidence and certainty, you create certainty for others.
Yes. So like my daughter's, I got a daughter that's 16, and then I got a daughter that's 13, and then I got a daughter that's 19. My 16-year-old daughter is not scared of anything because her daddy ain't scared of nothing. Now, my 13-year-old daughter, she's a little more fearful, but she's also younger. My 19-year-old daughter, she doesn't, I don't know that she knows to be scared. She just living the word dream,
Yeah.
But your family, you notice like when a storm, I guess y'all don't have tornadoes there, but where we live, when them storms come in, those sirens go off and it could get bad. You could be in a tornadic situation. If I remain cool, my whole family remains cool. But if I start flipping out and say, we got to get in here, we got to get, you know what I mean? Everybody panics, and everybody screams, and everybody gets weird, and you make a lot of mistakes when you go about doing that. So my wife and I, we really just prayed hard about being able to be just consistent, just consistently positive and forward moving. And my mother had a beauty shop, and she had a sign on the wall that said "Bloom where you're planted," and that's kind of where we're at. We're not planted in the best flower bed right now. We're kind of planted like that piece of grass that grows through a concrete parking lot. But we're going to bloom anyway. And, that's a choice, right?
That's why I love you, Racer. And you make me think and put smiles on people's faces when you say things like that. And that's why I wanted to really bring you out here today. I think what I'd like for people to know about you, which will then really help carry forward with the rest of our conversation today, is your mindset, your beliefs and principles. And if you could share maybe a little bit of that, plus the story of how we all became friends, the origin story of how you got to be.
You tell that you almost killed me?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't your fault, I promise. So I am very average raised East Texas. We was raised where daddy's always right when dad's wrong. Refer to rule number 1. You say yes, ma'am. You say no, ma'am. You have respect for everybody, older or younger. And people are still nice to each other where I live, for the most part. And we was raised in church. A few things that happened consistently throughout the period of our week was I was going to get about 4 whoopings, and we were going to go to church on Sunday, which usually resulted in a 5th whooping. But yeah, because I was that kid, that didn't know how to sit down and be still. But because of that, so whenever I was probably a teenager, I didn't have a lot of value on the consistency of what that looked like, and while I had understanding spiritually, I didn't even have a lot of value on that. You know what I mean? I mean, it was like we believe this, but I really don't know why. And so in an effort not to try to impose what I believe or on somebody that maybe doesn't choose to believe the same way, I'll just tell you this: it comforts me to know that I believe with everything in my heart that whenever I lay down at bed at night and I speak to my God, that He hears me. And it gives me great confidence in going into a world that's uncertain to know that I believe that my God is not swayed by uncertainty. And so my wife and I, Gwen, we met in a in ministry. We actually, and I'm not a preacher. I'm a little rough around the edges to be a preacher, but I don't think you have to be a preacher to be a deliverer of just good news. I mean. And some good news ain't always God news, but it's still good, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where we met, where we literally spent a lot of our dating life meeting people right where they were, whether they were in the street, whether they were in recovery, whether they were going through hell, whatever. We met them right where they were. And I do get asked to speak in some churches and stuff where pastors are brave enough to let a guy that is just going to be regular, because I've never been to Bible college, but my message is always the same. It's love your neighbor.
And I've asked you all this because when we start getting into your scripts and your dialogue, they're going to understand now who you are as a person. And
sure.
For some people, this may not speak to them, but for others, I think it's going to speak to whatever part of them that this exists in, and they'll be able to make the connection as to, oh, I get it. This is the quality of his character. So this is how he shows up authentically in real estate. And so this is what he says and why he says it. And so I wanted to help. Well, thank you for helping me set that up.
Well, and like I say, so I have a high level of respect for people. And the beauty of being a human is you have the ability to choose. You choose. And so I'm not that guy that says, if you don't believe like I believe, you're wrong. Yeah, that's for you to work out, the one way or the other. So, so in my belief system, I believe that loving your neighbor is super valuable, but I believe you can only love your neighbor at the same level that you love yourself. And here's why I say that. My analogy. If you decided tomorrow that you wanted a purple sports car because you had never seen a purple sports car before, and you went down and you bought you a new purple sports car, guess what you're going to see the first day you're driving your purple sports car? You're going to see another purple sports car, right? So reason why you're going to notice the one that you didn't notice before is because now you own one. And because what you own, you find without even realizing it. You just do. So if you do not love yourself well and you allow yourself to live in a mindset of unforgiveness or bitterness or anger or fear or any of that stuff, that is going to be what you recognize when you go out about your daily life, because you will see what you own. But if you love yourself well and you try to be pure in those areas, you'll see the good in people. And then when you see the good in people, they don't even have to be good. Because you ever notice that phrase, to find the good in people? You notice it doesn't say find the good on the out of people. It says find the good in people.
Yeah.
So we are good encased in life. And sometimes life is beautiful and sometimes it's ugly. But we're still good inside that. because the creation of you was good. Now, what that has been altered because of life may not look so good, but
Right.
it's still good, right? So, anyway, when you go about and you say, how can I impact the world in a positive way? I find the good in people and I show them. If they don't know it, I let them know where it's at, and I just try to be nice. And it's easy to do because I drew a circle around myself before I ever stepped out into the world, and I said, let's be sure everything in this circle is right before I go out there. But I promise you, I've lived stages of my life where I was bitter, felt like somebody wronged me or something like that, and I walked in judgment. I walked in self-protection mode. Self-protection gives with a closed fist.
Mm.
If you give with an open hand, the same hand that's open when you give is the same hand somebody can feel when it comes back, and that don't mean money. You know what I mean? That just means life. And so that's where we come from. So you want to know where we are, who we are. That's who we are.
Right.
You don't know what we are. We're in real estate. So
yeah, I think you spoke to a lot of people in the audience just now, including myself, who, you have to get right with yourself before you get out into the world. And I think in some way we all have insecurities and fears and challenges on a day-to-day basis to stay focused, and more now than ever, which is why we're here, is for people to take that inventory. I think you open people up to saying, hey, if I'm going to show up in the world right now as a leader, which is the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah.
And then if they have insecurities around being a leader, I think you just addressed some of those things that people can think through, like, oh, wow. Okay, yeah, if I get right with myself and I want to show up as a leader, because that's going to be the next part of our show, is it's all about leadership, what to say and what to do during these times. You've given the audience a formula for that mindset and leadership. And before we jump into that, could you give the audience a refresh on your team, the structure of the team, how it all functions, and up until recently, your production numbers?
So I'll have to find that right quick. So my wife and I started real estate. What is today? The 5th, 6th? So we started with Keller Williams 12 months and 10 days ago, and that was our first opportunity to be involved in real estate. And so when we did that, we knew nothing. I announced rodeos professionally all over the world for about 25 years, and it was incredible. I loved it, and I loved stepping up in front of 10 or 12,000 people on a Friday or Saturday night and being able to try to capture their mind on what we were doing long enough so they didn't think about what bills they had to pay, or that their kid was acting up, or whatever, or their wife and they wasn't getting along, or whatever. 2 hours, just a break. And so it was awesome. The problem with that is when you work for yourself in that kind of capacity, you've never really had a job. And so when you make that move into the regular world, whatever that is, it was just a little tough transition. So I married my wife about 2 years ago, and so I believe in coaches, and I'm a huge believer in coaches. I think you ought to have a coach for every area of your life that you're not a master at, and chances are that's most. And so I asked a guy that was kind of coaching me through some marriage stuff, because I'd had some experience in marriage that didn't work out so good. And I says, how do I do this, man? Where I have a long-term opportunity, where I don't end up in the what's the word for it?
Disqualified bucket.
Well, yeah, I don't end up in the same place, that I've been before. So he said, well, let me tell you something. He said, I don't know exactly what's going to work for you, but I will tell you this. If you find out what your wife has dreamed about since she's a little girl, and you'll help her go get it, you will not have to look around to figure out where she's at, because she'll be following you, because you'll be going after her dream. And so I thought about that, and I got brave, and I said, hey, honey, what kind of career would you be able to track back since you were a little girl that was a perfect dream for you? And I was really hoping that she just said she wanted a pony. You know, that'd be easy. But she says, well, since I was a little girl, I've always drawn pictures of like interior design in houses, and I've drawn floor plans my whole life. And so I really think if I could buy and sell, like flip, you know, and stuff like that. I got to do some of that for a person one time, and it was just really, really fulfilling, and that'd be it. And then I thought, great, I'm broke, and all I know how to do is rodeo. How am I gonna pull this one off, right? But I did make some phone calls, and some guys gave me some guidance, and then one of them said, you know, you ought to look into real estate because you'll learn what sells and what doesn't. You'll learn how to buy it right and how to sell it right, and you get paid while you learn, and you'll get to see a lot of opportunities. And so I came back and I said, how about we chase this one? And she said, if you go, I'll follow you. And so that's exactly what we did. And so, like I say, about March 20th of last year, we joined Keller Williams, and I started involving myself in depth and coaching and training, which really at that point looked like contracts and you know, all the administrative stuff. Right. And somewhere in there, I realized that I had no idea how to go get the business. So I got the opportunity to enroll in a course called Bold, and my coach, Dusty Oglesby, was there. And about 4 weeks in, it clicked, just like that. And a few things happened that day. Mo Anderson had a video. She's a legend in our industry, and she's a joy, make you happy to be around her kind of person. And she said, hey, listen, if you'll act excited, you'll be excited. And then she said it again. And then she said, say it with me. And then she said, stand up and say it with me. And then she said, now smile when you say it. And she's right. I was broke, and I was defeated, and I was way out of my norm, but I felt pretty good for a minute. And then we went over some scripts, and we went over scripts in a whole different way. I'll share that with you. So we did it like this. So my coach says, here's how we're going to run this script. He said, hello. And I said, hey, I'm looking for Steve. And he goes, I'm Steve. And he goes, stop. And I go, okay. He said, do it again. And he goes, hello. And I go, hey, I'm looking for Steve. He said, I'm Steve. Stop. Do it again. He said, hello. I said, hey, I'm looking for Steve. He said, I'm Steve. Go ahead. And I said, I'm Racer Botkin from Keller Williams Realty. The reason that I called you, stop. And we would do just a piece and a piece and a piece and a piece over and over and over and over. And he said, now be sure you own it over. And pretty soon, my script and the script on the paper was not the same, but we were going the same direction. And I hadn't said a word in Bold so far. I've been there 4 weeks. And he said, anybody want to run that script right now? And I said, I bet I got it. And I ran it. And whenever we got done, he goes, whew, I hope you know what you just got. And I said, what? He said, that's going to be your $1 million lesson. And so that was on July the 11th. And July the 12th, I realized that I didn't have access to phone numbers for expired listings because I'd never called an expired listing before. So I called y'all. And based on online presence and reviews, and I like the color red. And so I didn't know I was going to get you, Justin. But so I called y'all, and I got signed up. And, well, I got a little trial run there. And they helped me get everything done. At that point, I had no skill at all on the computer, so I had to have somebody help me, and they did. And Saturday morning, man, I'd never run a script before. I'd never listed a house. I'd never sold a house. I didn't have any clients. We had a whole bunch of debt on credit cards and no money. And I woke up that morning at 5 o'clock, and I thought, today is the day. It's like Christmas. I woke up, and I went, today's the day. And it was July 13th. And the reason I look up like that is because it's on my board in front of me. I look at it every single day. Because moments matter. You need those moments to matter, because there's going to be moments where you figure there's no way out of this, and you can go back to that and say, you want to bet? Because there wasn't no way out there either, but it showed up. You know what I mean? So I like to go back. So I told my wife, I said, I'll be back whenever we have some contracts or at least some business, and not until then. And so I assume that either she did not hear me or something, because she probably figured I wasn't ever coming home, because we didn't have no business, right? So,
I love the story.
so I got to the office that morning, and I got there really early, earlier than you want to call people on Saturday. So man, I was going through this deal, and I was trying to think, and I was trying to, and 9 o'clock, first guy answered the phone, and I said, I almost said, "Hey, I'm looking for Steve," because I've done that script a lot. And I was about half me and about half not me. I did the old, "Hello, sir. My name is Racer Botkin from Keller Williams, and the reason I'm calling you is I noticed that your house is showing up online," and he cut me off about halfway through that. And he said, "I'm relisting with my agent that I had before. I don't need you to be calling me." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And I hung up. And I thought, "Well, that was fun. Let's do it again." And so about 3 hours of that, of learning how to deal with what was coming at you. No telling how many opportunities I wasted. But I had, so I had a little bit of information, but no knowledge. I had the information that looked like dial the phone and here's a script. The knowledge I didn't have was you practice and you play on game. And so I had never practiced scripts, so I stunk at it. So about 11:30, and this is kind of where at the end I'm beginning to think I'm not going to get to go home. And so in my frustration, a guy's answer machine picks up. And I hadn't even learned how to use the voicemail deal yet, so I didn't know it was there. And so I go, so I'm just put out. So I said, "Hey, listen, I noticed your house didn't sell last time it was on the market, and I can sell it. Call me back if you're interested." Click. And that was my effort. I quit. And that sucker called me back in about 15 minutes, and he said, "Can you really sell my house?" I said, "You daggum right I can." He said, "Well, when do we need to meet?" And I said, "I'd be there. I'd come today." He said, "I can't do it today. I can do it tomorrow after church." And I said, "I'll be there at 1 o'clock." And he said, "Man, we need somebody to sell our house. We got somewhere we want to go." I didn't even know. Well, I knew, but I didn't have any repetition to think about motivation, think about any of that stuff. I was just thinking, I got a freaking appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So I hang that phone up, and guess what? I am Superman now. And I booked me another one pretty quick. And then I thought, this is the easiest thing I've ever done in my whole life. It's like taking candy away from kids. And the next day we met this couple, and they informed me that their house had been on market for 249 days. And it was priced about $15 a square foot over market. And they thought it was a heck of a good deal. And so my wife gave them some really good update ideas to do some painting and stuff like that. We put their house on the market about 12 days later, and we sold it in 14 days at 97% of asking. And I literally don't know how. I mean, I do. We were throwing a lot of stuff at the wall and hoping it stuck. I mean, we were throwing Facebook and emails and agent, email stuff, and everything we had. Heck, we didn't have no business. So what little business we got, we dumped the whole wheelbarrow on it, and so it was like that. Turned around, and sold them another house for about $350,000. So that one deal was 900 or 800 something thousand, between the two. And that same day, I got another appointment for a house that was that took us about 3 months to finally get on the market, and it had been on the market for about 320 days or something like that.
Yeah.
And we sold it in about 17 days. And so there's a principle that I've heard in coaching, and I've lived to see it to be true. You can take where you're at right now, and you can be anywhere you choose to be in just a couple of years. Now, you can't be anywhere you want to be, but you can be anywhere you choose to be, because a choice has an action behind it.
Hmm.
A want is the same as hope, and hope that doesn't come true makes your heart sick. But a choice is a decision, and so we just chose that we would be in a place in 3 or 4 years that looked very different than where we were right now.
I love what you just said. That story was beautiful, and the way you've tied that together allows me to ask this next question for the audience. For us, is that mindset of choice versus hope, or choice versus want. Um, what advice do you have to agents right now as what they should be choosing? What can they choose? And what actions can they take to put them in the direction of that choice?
Well, so here's the good and the bad. Everything you say yes to means you say no to something else, typically. Um, and if you are a realtor, and that is what you are, and that is who you are, you're in big trouble. Because right now, a realtor is not very needed. People are not jumping up and down buying and selling houses. Now, you can see a lot of stuff online and Facebook about, man, we got these numbers and these numbers and these numbers. Let me tell you something. We had 11 deals in the closing in escrow, and we're closing one. And then some of the guns were closed. But we've had people lose their jobs. We've had people get sick. We've had people get laid off. We've had people who had property sold in California that didn't get to close because they couldn't get an appraisal, or they couldn't, you know what I mean? We had everything in the world happen. Now, while my phone still rings, we're still talking to people. People are still saying, we're thinking about buying a house, or we're thinking about listing a house. There's some stuff there. But if everything you are, who you are, and what you are is just a realtor, you're in trouble, which is a great opportunity right now to kind of back up, because it's not like the world is going to run off and leave you. The world is backed up. I'm thankful that who we are gives us the ability to be what we are better.
So who do people need to be if they're not a realtor?
Okay, so
then who? Then what?
So this is a hard one for people, like even for me and you too, because we both have that same personality that's task driven, and it's, you know, we're driven towards the number and the closing, right? If we're not real careful, we'll become very transactional in our business, which means we can get business, or we can close business, or we can go get more business. But today, what people need is somebody that's relational. And I'm thankful that because of some life that I had to go through that wasn't good, I became very relational before I ever got into real estate. But people that are relational right now have the opportunity to invest in people's lives into a hurt spot, and they become a permanent fixture in who they are. But if you're just transactional, then you're just the dude that sold their house, or you're just a guy. I mean, you can be the best at marketing and selling homes, and that's no discredit to you. But when the shift happens, and that's where we're at, the ones that sustain it are going to be the ones that have a permanent position in people's lives, not just a transactional position in their lives. Like, I mean, I would venture to say that you don't know the guy's name that sold you your car. No, because that's more of a transactional business. But if that guy was really relational, not only would you know him, you'd follow him on Facebook, and you may not be friends, but you'd know who he was, or you'd be getting an email that you did or didn't open every month, and you'd see that he'd sent you one, you know, and because you were relational. And then whenever you got ready to buy another car, you'd say, I think I'm going to give me another car. John sent me an email the other day. I need to check with him, see if he can help me out. Like, he stays in contact, and then you're still there, you know. And that's just something that I think right now, if you've got a good investment already in the ability to do that, you're way ahead. And if you don't, you got time to figure it out, because that phone is free. And I'm going to tell you, so relational lifestyle is learned. It's earned, and it's just not natural. Uh, to be able to really care about where people are at will help you as a realtor, because when you realize it's not about buying and selling a house, it's about getting a dream that comes true of moving to a place that you're not in right now, whether that's going up the ladder or down the ladder, if you're moving up in houses or if you're downsizing because of life. um, that's what's important. And what helps that happen is we've got to sell a house. If all you are is the component that sells the house, then when the house is sold, you don't have any value. And kind of like the guy that sells you a new pair of pants at the store. Once the deal's over, it's over.
Let's talk about value. Let's talk about relationship. You, like you said, had to go through things in life to gain this experience and awareness. And I think for some people, it's something very natural for them. And for a lot of people, it's not, especially in the sales-driven mental model of what being a real estate agent typically is talked about. And so could you coach our audience right now on how you're relational, what that sounds like? I've heard some fantastic just conversations you've had with people. I've heard you model some great, I would say, just almost non-transactional conversations.
Yeah. So like right now, this is what our business looks like. So I called Mike Sherrard 3 weeks ago. He's going to be on your show tomorrow, I think. He's a buddy of mine.
Yep.
And he's got a company that handles creative content marketing, like social media and YouTube, stuff like that. And I said, hey, brother, I said, I need some help because I don't know how to make this stuff go anywhere. But I do know that people need to hear that everything's going to be all right. And even if it's not all right, it's going to be all right. And he was like, yeah, you bet, I'm with you. So we jumped in the middle of there, and we spent money in the middle of a down market to be able to put a message out there that we do on our Facebook page every day nearly, that just says, hey, listen, just because you feel like you're in jail does not mean you're a prisoner, and you do not have to be a prisoner. You choose to be a prisoner. You happen to be in a place where if you look at the good stuff and it gets bigger, you're with your family, you're with your closest people around you, and you don't have anything else to do except them. Figure out who they are, what they're doing, where they're at, what their dreams are, and then figure out how this world can be better when all this deal's over by what you learned in the middle of this. Because I've learned way more in failure or in a mess than I ever learned in victory. In victory, you're busy celebrating, but in failure, you're reflecting. And so Don Gay, 8-time world champion bull rider, one of the greatest voices of professional rodeos, a friend of mine, we're flying in his plane to Florida one time, and I says, what taught you the very most about being a world champion? And he said, the years I didn't win. And I went, what do you mean? He goes, when you have to go home after the national finals rodeo and reflect on every time you didn't give 100%. Every time you was too tired and you just turned out and didn't go somewhere. Every time that you didn't put all in that deal, and how it might have just been a matter of a few dollars, but it didn't matter if you were second or 12th. Your name was not going down in history. He said, that taught me more than when I got to step on that stage and get that gold bucket. And truthfully, I think that's true, because I don't even want to tell you where I had to learn most of my lessons in life, because I had to go through some stuff. I was busy building my story. But the lessons I learned was the fact that we have an opportunity to change our world around us. And whether you choose to do that or not is completely up to you.
One thing I'd like to focus on, based on something you just said, is the phone is free.
Phone's free.
A lot of agents, including yourself, started off with no cost, low cost lead generation. And there's a couple of people, if not many, here today to hear about that aspect of your business adapted for today's market. And I'd love to hear what lead types you're calling and what you're saying to them. So
right now, and we do typically call some expireds and for sale by owners, but we're not at the moment. We're calling people that are in our sphere, people that we know, and it looks like, hey, listen, They're just going to check in on you. How's your family? And you got to be really ready when you ask that question, because they could say, we're all good. And you say, man, that's so good. I'm glad. Um, you're working, everything going all right. What are y'all doing to pass your time? Just it's not about business. This kind of time, they're going to know your name. You call them, care about them, they're going to know your name. You don't have to remind them. So that's an easy call. But I've also had those calls that were like, "Hey, buddy, just calling, checking in. Um, I'm just trying to go through my friends and just see how you doing." And then I hear, "Man, I lost my job, and my wife left, or whatever." And you got to be ready to shift gears right then. And now you become a counselor. And sometimes counseling is more about listening than it is talking. But you have to shift, and you have to be already bought in for what that could entail before you make that call. But right now, I'll tell you something. The most fulfilling phone calls that I've made have been the ones where people said, "I'm not good. We're not good." And I was able to say, "Hey, let's talk about that. Tell me what that looks like." Well, he sent me home from my work with no pay, and I got 2 kids, and we got money, and I don't even know how to put groceries on the table. And I'll be like, "I do. I know where to go. Um, Hang on." And we've helped people go get food. We've helped people make phone calls that they didn't know how to make to people that they owed money to say, "Listen, this is where we're at." We've helped people fill out forms for car notes that just says, "Hey, this is the money I've lost, and I cannot pay you, but I will." And they got 60 days. Is that real estate? No, real estate's what we do. This is who we are. And so right now, that's what we're doing. Now, is that profitable? Absolutely. People put money in a mutual fund all the time. 401ks all the time. This is a 401k right now. It's not a checking account business. It's a 401k business. We are putting small deposits, knowing that long term there's a reward for doing so. Maybe not from this person, but we know that we'll be rewarded because good equals good. Now, when it's game on and game time and everything's good, I'm calling you on the phone about your expired, and I'm saying, "Hey, buddy, I'm sorry you didn't get to your dream. I know you're sick of making your bed. I know your wife's tired of keeping all the dishes clean. Is there any way I can help you get out of your house in 30 days? Would you please let me do that?" And you're going to say, "Heck yeah," and I'm selling. But today, that's a checking account. When you're doing that, you're building your checking account. What we're doing today, it's a 401k. It's a little bit, a long time. And that's what we're doing. That's our, and we've just been blessed, man, because we had enough business coming into this deal to where we can kind of sustain it. We have 9 employees now, so our team's grown, right? My wife and I have a transaction coordinator that works for us. We also have an admin, and then we have a new realtor starting Monday. And then we have another new realtor starting at the end of the month. And people are going, "Are you crazy? You're growing a team in the middle of an off market?" And I'm like, this is the perfect time to grow a team. I got time to train them. I got time to set them up. I got 113 items on a list that it takes to get you onboarded with our team, because we want you to be able to flow and look and feel and smell like us. And so it's a perfect time. And you don't plant and harvest in the same season ever. You don't plant gardens in the heat of the summer. You plant gardens in the cool of the spring. You harvest gardens in the heat of the summer. So today we're in a planting time. And if you don't plant now, there will be no harvest later. And that's just what we're doing.
You did it, Racer. You really did. You gave it to us in a way that is clear, more understandable than I think any of other guests have done. That checking account concept, the 401k analogy, and obviously the planting and harvesting set every single aspect of the mindset up for people who are wondering, how do I be of value and service?
Yeah.
That was really it. You know, you don't give yourself enough credit. I remember we were driving on the way up to the airport that one day, and you were telling me you're not smart, but you have a high IQ, and I'm like, you should talk more highly about yourself, because you really just put it out there in a way that I think one of the hardest things to do is take something complex and make it simple to understand.
Well, so like I said, life is a story. And if you're not scared of yours, because you're so by the time you get to tell a story, it's over. So if it's a bad story, it's over. You're telling it from where you're at now, not from where you were at then. And so if you let life be a story, then life can be a learning story, which means that same life can be a teaching story. But you can't be so ashamed of your story that you keep it a secret, because then that story becomes like handcuffs and it keeps you enslaved.
Yeah.
So we failed a lot, and we failed big. And I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've made my mama probably not so proud at times, but I guarantee she's proud of me today. It's just like going to the gym. You tear yourself down so that you build yourself up. It doesn't make a lot of sense, because that's the way it works. Life breaks you in places, and then you heal up, and then you make some more mistakes, only bigger ones, because now you're bigger and stronger. When I was a little kid, I used to ride my bicycle fast as I could. I'd jump everything that you could ramp off of, and I crashed, and I skin up from head to toe. And my mother goes, "What'd you do?" And I go, "Man, I was going as fast as I could go, and that wasn't fast enough. So I started at the top of the hill, and I hooked my bike to my buddy's go-kart, and he pulled me, and I went even faster. And then when I jumped the ditch, I shot all the way to the other side of the ditch, and I crashed my bike." And she goes, "Why would you go so fast that you crash?" And I said, "Well, if you don't crash, you don't know how fast you can go." And she said, I was 10 years old. And she said, I thought to myself, this kid lost his mind.
And everybody, we just found out why they call him Racer.
That's my name, yeah. But truth of the matter is life. So if you're not failing pretty consistently, you're not pushing the envelope. You're just playing it safe, and you can't grow like that. And nothing grows like that. I mean, if you don't prune your flowers, they don't grow to their full potential. They have to have a place where they get set back. So in life, and I don't mean be like stupid. You know, you can die from some stuff. Don't be stupid, and don't gamble your whole family's life and livelihood. But I mean, push it to the point to where you fail. And I heard my new admin, it says on her hiring documents that I would expect you to fail 10 times before 10 o'clock. I expect that. I do not want anybody that works for me that's not willing to fail 10 times before 10 o'clock, because that means they're growing. And so if they just stick to what they know, nobody grows. The company doesn't grow. They don't grow. Nothing grows. But if they'll fail a little bit, they're not going to fail at everything. They're going to fail at some. And she don't have the checkbook, so she can't fail at stuff that hurts real bad. But fail forward. That's part of it. Just fail forward, and don't be afraid of it, because that's where the beautiful stories come out of. I mean, that's where the best stuff is.
I had a friend that reminded me, or this reminds me of a quote a friend of mine once mentioned to me, is you should be making mistakes that steer the ship but not sink it.
Right. Yeah, because you don't know. I mean, you can be tossed at sea and survive, but you don't get where you're trying to go. Get a hold and get against that wave. Don't just go with it, because you just go with it, you don't know where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
If you have an intention about where you're going to go, you're crazy if you think you're not going to have resistance. And sometimes you're going to be weaker than the resistance.
I'd like to talk about resistance right now, actually. Like I said before, you have a fantastic way of taking chaos and complexity and turning into simple things people can understand. And we have, I don't know, we're getting dozens of calls from agents who are asking us, how can we use your product right now to get business? Because if we can't figure out how to get value out of it, we have to turn it off. And so I want to make sure that we address those agents. I don't have the way to say it, I think, the way you might. And so if you could speak to agents right now who are looking at their budgets, who are looking at the time they have available, and they have to make decisions on what do I spend my time and my money on, what would you say to those agents right now who are unable to see the opportunity to take advantage of the tools that you use every day from REDX to plant those seeds for the future? Because that's what this is about right now.
Yeah. So here's what we did. 3 weeks ago on Monday, when this whole deal kind of broke loose, I think it was 3. My wife and I sat down. We keep everything on a spreadsheet. We know exactly where we're at. I know what my sign cost is. I know my numbers. You know me. So
I know that.
If you don't know your numbers, you don't know. And so I said, okay, what do we need? What do we not need? What can we do without? And we trimmed the fat. Now, we even made some of those phone calls ourselves and said, hey, can you give us a couple of months here? Because we don't want to lay anybody off. It wasn't do we have enough money to pay our bills, but do we have enough money to pay our bills and pay their bills? You know? And my admin, her husband got laid off Friday. So now she is the only provider in that household. And so, you know, I mean, she's not our employee at that point. Now she's family. You know what I mean? So anyway, so what we did is we cut the stuff out that we could not really predict the results. Some of that was lead sources. And they didn't like it. They actually were not they didn't work with me very good. They didn't have much of a choice because I have the PIN number. But I'm just saying, there's things that you can trim. I went through my iPhone and I realized that I was paying $150 a month probably on little old app stuff that most of it hadn't logged into in a long time. Cleared them all out, saved some money. I just sorted through it, man. I just went through my checking account, and you don't realize how much stuff you have billing every month that you don't notice. You know, just like XM radio or whatever. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's hitting you $20 here, $20 there, and it really doesn't matter when everything's good, but when it ain't good, you add all that stuff together, and you got $300 or $400, and $300 or $500 goes a long way when you're broke. And we're not broke, but we knew that in the middle of the shift, we were either going to shift with it or we were going to have to fight against it, and it was probably going to win. And so we trimmed the fat. Now, I will say this, on your product, there was never a question in my mind whether we were or were not going to have a product like REDX, because REDX is a very minimal fee that gives me data that allows me to pay for something that I'm not going to turn off. I am not going to turn this off. So it pays for something that I can use with this right here, with people that I already know, and I can call more people faster with less mistakes that way than I can any other way. And I can track it. And I can get the data that is even free to, I mean, it's not very expensive on that deal. That expired listings, if you're, so like for us, we know what it costs to list a house. Listing a house is not free. If you do it the way we do it, it costs about $800 by the time I get them on market, because of marketing and transaction fees and photography and sign cost, and then we put them in a marketing program, and we spend a lot of money. The idea of going out and getting 15 houses this month and having $8,000 or $12,000 tied up that we might have to wait on for 90 days wasn't very enticing. But there's a whole bunch of people you can get through that Geo Lead program in neighborhoods that I promise you are just as sick of their family as you are of yours. They would be glad to have somebody call them and say, hey, listen, you don't know me, and here's why I'm calling you. Because I have been hemmed up in my house for the last 2 weeks, and I love people, and I ain't getting to be around people, so I just need somebody that I can be nice to. Would you let me be nice to you? And they're going to say, heck no, right? No, they're going to say, oh, okay. listen, I know this is weird. I'm a real estate agent. I live on people. I mean, that's all I do is people. And I am locked up away from people. And I love your neighborhood. Matter of fact, you remember that house down there on the corner, such and such, such and such? Well, I sold that house. Oh, yeah. You remember people moved into it? They're so nice. I love them. They go to church with me. Blah, blah, blah. I just thought, I'm going to call some people I don't know. I like to go out and meet people, but I can't go nowhere. So tell me about you. How long you lived in Longview? What do you do for a living? You ever think about selling your house? Because I can sell it. You know what I mean? But that's free. It ain't cost you nothing. But you can't get that person's phone number if you don't have a service. Same way with the expireds, though. You don't have to go get them all. You know, you can send them a card, put your name out in front of people. If you got good information, you got a lot. Postage, you know, kind of an expensive spend if you do a lot of it. But if you're picking neighborhoods, you could send a neighborhood. You could send, you could send a 100 people a week a card for $50 if you're buying cheap cards. And if you're use a service, like I use some services for mine, and so I send a full color front and back card.
What service do you use? I'd love to share that in the notes.
We use a and I don't know these people at all, but their product's good. It's called Wise Pelican, and they're real estate agents that have this company. And you just upload your list that you're going to send to, and you go in and build your template off of what they've already got. It's real fast. And then you push go, and it's 70 cents, and it's done. You don't ever have to touch it. They send it second class, so it's takes about 3 or 4 days to get there, but it gets right straight to them, and it looks good when it gets there, and you built it.
And for our customers who are watching this, you guys can use our GeoLeads product to build that list, right?
That's what we use. That's exactly what we use.
And I think there's a new feature that we've come out with. We haven't done a really great job of advertising it, but we have something called Mail Merge, where you can actually go in there and look up and create some letters and some templates. And so that's actually a new feature. I thought, well, you brought up the opportunity for us to mention that for our existing customers.
So while mail's not free, I mean, you got postage and stuff like that, but if you're just really trying to clamp down your money, you could get a basic program, and I'm not in your sales side, but I don't know exactly what it costs. Doesn't matter. I have it. I'm getting it. But you get a basic program with GeoLeads and $1, and single lines plenty fast. And if you ain't got nothing else to do, get up in the morning, get dressed, and I mean, just like what you said at the start, get dressed. Get you a nice set of clothes on. Be sure you smell good when you walk out of your house. Because when you look good and you feel good and you smell good, you do everything better. Everything. And so get up, and my wife will tell you, she said, paint your barn, ladies. You ladies, get up and paint your barn. Put that makeup on. Don't be laying around in your night clothes all day long. You got your husband there all day. Get up. Look good, feel good, smell good. Fix your hair. Get dolled up. Get you a mirror out there in front of that desk and look in that mirror and smile. And use Mo Anderson's line. If you act excited, you'll be excited. If you act excited, you say it over and over. Smile when you say it. Watch what happens to your tone. And then you pick up that phone and you call somebody and they say hello, and you go, hey, Racer Botkin here from Keller Williams. I'm the owner of Dream Team Property Group. Listen, I don't want to bother you, but I do have a reason for calling. Do you have 1 minute? And they're going to say, sure, they ain't got nothing else to do. Where are they going? I just wanted to know, I just want to share something with you. I live on people, man. I'm in the real estate business and I do people, and I am trapped at my house. And so I just decided that I was going to get to know everybody in your neighborhood. Do you mind if I become your friend?
You're so good. You're so good at Racer. That's what I love about you, is you come from a real, true, authentic place. And for some people that feels like disingenuous or inauthentic, but like, because you're so close to who you are, right? You're so in touch with that when you get on the phone and you say that, I feel good hearing you say that. I really do. I'm like, oh, is he talking to me? I could use some more friends. Yeah, I'm stuck here.
What was cool is, so the other day, I got a phone call. And I answered, and the lady told me, hi, this is so-and-so. You probably don't remember me. But I was in a business by the book class with you in Dallas, and you gave me your business card. And I went, okay. And I did not know who she was. And she said, I just was going through my cards, and I wanted to call and see how you and your wife are doing. And I go, man, we're good. And she said, has this had a bad impact on you? And I said, it costs us a lot of money. I said, but we're trying to just bloom where we're planted. And she said, listen, I just wanted to just touch base with everybody that I thought I might even remotely know, and just let you know that whether it means anything to you or not, we love you. And if we can ever help you in any way, you let me know. And I had to go back and dig through my business cards to figure out who this lady was. This lady owns a mega team in the Metroplex. She's not supposed to be dialing my number. I guarantee you, outside of the fact that I'm probably the only cowboy hat with a picture of a good-looking woman in her Rolodex of business cards, she wouldn't have known who I was. But the room that I was in that she was talking about was a room full of millionaires and me. And the guy goes, do you own a business? Do you own a market center? No. Do you own a team? No. What are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm going to. And so I was there where I wasn't supposed to be, but I knew I was supposed to be. But this lady she was doing that. She was calling. Big team, 100 agents. What was she doing? She was going through her cards and saying, I'm going to call and check on this one. I'm going to call and check on this one. I'm going to call and check on this one. If that's what they're doing, that's what I'm doing. And so it just reaffirmed, usually we have to time block to make phone calls. We are time blocked, brother. We are extremely time blocked. And so now we just do it. And yeah.
I feel like that's a really good place for us to wrap. I know you and I could talk for at least another hour, but we have to bring things to a close just for now. And I think that the trailing theme that you left us with right now is to bloom where you're planted, right?
Yeah.
No matter how big, somebody is, to use that as a model, they're coming down and calling your sphere, being of service, reaching out and trying to make friends. I think that's such an amazing takeaway from today's conversation. And so I'm going to do a little wrap up right now. Hang out with us after the show ends. Stay right there. I just want to let the rest of the audience know that if they're, for the first time coming and seeing us, they're not already on the email list, we're going to be taking the things Racer have said, all the other people who've shown up over the last couple of weeks to give us amazing scripts, amazing content, amazing action plans. We are going to, yes, Eloise, we're getting Razor's script. Thanks for asking. We're in the process right now of finishing up.
I have a script? I didn't know I had a script.
Yeah. No, you are now a script maker.
Yeah.
Looking up to you that way.
Somebody
Be on that email list. If you're watching this live, wherever you are on YouTube or Facebook, hit like and subscribe so that you can catch these later. Hey, Amanda, great to see you on here. Always love seeing you pop up. Get on that email list. We'll update you when the newest episodes come out. In fact, speaking of newest episodes, we've got Mike Sherrard, Racer's friend. We all brought them together a couple months ago. If you don't know Mike, he's the Canadian social media master. Go follow him. You'll see his stuff all over the place. One of the top 20 real estate agents on social. Right after that, on, I think, Friday, we've got Brian Moses, who is a former number 2, I think, Coldwell Banker agent in the world, turned real estate coach, turned Tony Robbins coach. He's a buddy and friend from a long time ago. And so we're going to have those two guys to wrap up the week. So please be on that list so you can get the invite to the next 2 days of episodes. We're doing these daily to help you know what to say and do during these challenging times to speak as well. A little sticky tongue there at the end. But we hope we're making a difference in your life. I really appreciate everybody who's been showing up daily for this. Again, Eloise, Amanda, Pat, I think I saw Dan, Connie. We really appreciate all the same people showing up and participating. It means a lot to us. Lets us know that we're making a difference in your life. And so if you have any questions, please always reach out to us. And until then, I'm Justin Zimmerman, your host of the Stability and Opportunity Podcast. We're going to get on it. Get back to work on some of those scripts and videos and stuff, Racer. Looking forward to talking to you after the show. Until then, everybody, have a great rest of your afternoon. Stay safe, stay clean, stay positive. See y'all tomorrow.